Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to today's episode of Path to Purpose podcast. My name is Tahira, and I'm joined today with Sister Zahra and brother Muhammad Riyaz. And we're really excited for today's episode. Just a quick introduction on what the podcast is about. So, Path to Purpose podcast is about building connections within our community with the youth and the professionals that we have. It's a great way for us to understand a variety of professionals and what their day-to-day jobs are like, and just to give further information to our community.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to today's episode. Our guest today is Brother Muhammad Riyaz, a seasoned expert with extensive experience delivering a wide range of risk assurance services across various industries. His expertise spans auditing, consulting, proposition development, business management, and much, much more. He is currently a vice president at Deutsche Bank, and alongside his professional career, he engages in various community initiatives and has also previously served as a vice president of the Abbas Islamic Centre in Birmingham. So I'll now hand over to Brother Muhammad Riyaz to give us an insight into his professional career and his community contribution. Thank you for joining us today. Over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. So what do you want me to start with?
Career path, your current role at the bank, and then also your what you do at the mosque, and your current contributions.
Sure. Okay, so I've been I currently work at Deutsche Bank, and I've been there for just over 12 years. Within the bank, I have worked in a range of different departments, but always specializing in data. Now, prior to that, I was working at PwC, and I was there for 5 years. And within there, as you said, Zahra, I performed a range of different roles around risk management and program reviews, internal audits, and so on. But my background has always been in technology. So whatever role that I've performed has been has got a technology, has had a technology angle to it. Not from a hardware perspective, but more from a how technology is adopted by the organizations, how data is managed within the organizations. And over the last 15 years or so, I've worked, a lot of my times from PwC to when I joined Deutsche Bank has been around how we ensure that the way the organization manages its data is compliant with regulation. So within those, I've performed different roles from statistical analysis. I've got my hands deep into data from manipulation to business intelligence and reporting. And I've also run finance processes to understand how the data travels from system to system, to empathize with how the daily P&L reportings are done, and as a result of that, to also analyze any instances where there's effectively leaks in the pipe for when data goes wrong and what the root causes are for those, be it from a process perspective, be it from a system perspective. So that's been some of the activities that I've been involved in, and then I've also done and currently carry on doing data governance and developing data policies. So, for example, trying to ensure that the way, for example, the bank governs itself ensures that data is the hot topic that's discussed at various committees, various leadership levels, to demonstrate that there's active management and governance of that data. So that's in a bit of a nutshell, my background and broadly a broad overview of my role. Currently, I'm also involved in leading a team that generates reporting and business intelligence for for different parts of the bank, all to help effective data management, and also lead the data policy development team.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that gives a good insight into what you do day to day, currently in your role. You said you moved from, as in your background is from technology, and then you moved into more into this. So what did that progression look like? How did you, kind of grow from tech into this?
So my role remains sort of in the technology space.
Sure.
But when I was at PwC, what used to happen was I would go to different clients, assess uh, their pain points, the reasons why they had got us in. We would commission pieces of work for them, perform reviews in some instances, help them perform a specific piece of work, and then we would leave, right? And um, I got to a point where I wanted to stay, and see the long-term progress of particular projects and activities. And that's what I managed to get when I joined Deutsche Bank. So if you're involved, say, for example, in a multi-year program, which is what I was back when I joined, there was lots of reviews going around, the financial reporting, the risk modeling, and so on, and ensure that they're, synchronized and the numbers that come out are all, the same. And there's more consolidation of systems. Being involved and seeing how that develops over the years was something that I was looking for, and I was, happy to get that from there.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So I think one thing that we kind of want to give our viewers an insight into is kind of how the guests we bring on kind of eventually end up in the career paths that they choose. So one thing that we really want to ask is just when did it occur to you that, okay, this is the career path I want to get into? Was it, from your early life or maybe from your university experiences? Anything that you can share?
Yeah, it's a good question, and sometimes I think it's also a point of reflection for myself, right? Where I am today, is it where I thought I would be? Would it, would I have thought I'd be doing these types of activities? I always wanted to pursue a career in technology. Now, technology is very broad, right? So I don't think I envisaged myself doing exactly what I'm doing today, but I don't think I knew that that's what it would look like anyway. So I did my degree in computer science at Aston University, and then I pursued a master's in e-business at the same Aston University. And my first role was a role in a research firm, um, where I was performing statistical analysis, and it was more around various research projects, primarily for the government. So, for example, at the time I was involved in the analysis. One of my projects was, analyzing the business case for congestion charging, in different areas. And yeah, I remember getting involved with some of the university academics as well. But my role was more around, getting my hands deep into the data that was collected, performing some statistical analysis. I had to perform validation of the data that's collected as well. So we would interview, people would the people would interview a range of a cross section of the residents of a particular area, find out how they travel in, how many people in the car every day, and those sorts of things. And we had to take all the data and analyze it and create something meaningful out of it. So that was where I started, got that significant exposure into data. And from that statistical analysis, when I joined PwC, with that data hat on, I started, applying that to whatever project I was involved in. And that just helped me position myself towards projects that were more technology related. I mean, I did get involved in projects that were non-technology related as part of internal audits and so on. Um, but primarily, my passion, stayed in with how organizations are effective in implementing technology, how they're compliant with the regulations that are there, how they're achieving their derived business benefits from, whatever technology they were adopting. So it was all pretty much geared around that. So yeah, I mean, there was a range of different projects. I worked in the pharmaceutical sector, the education sector, um, a few public sector projects in the universities as well, whilst I was at PwC. So I got exposure to a range of different in the media sector as well. I helped one of the mainstream channels as well in terms of how they should ensure that they make the most of their 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 data in being effective. So a range of different projects, that allowed me to to use my background. Just one thing that I'll say is, I haven't then, so over the years, my involvement in the actual coding, for example, reduced quite significantly over time. But that skill has always been useful. That ability to dabble between, the 36,000-foot view and looking at it at a macro level versus, starting honing into specific areas and diving deep into them, is a skill that I still keep and I still try and use now and again. So I wouldn't mind going into an SQL code or, a script and, editing it, and seeing what else is there, or troubleshooting it at times as well myself.
Yeah, I think that's all really useful. I think a lot of what I got from that was, just hone in your university experiences, the skills that you build. You carry those for a long time after that, if not for, the rest of your lifetime. Yeah, and I
Absolutely.
think, yeah, one thing that, from my own university experience, I would say is make use of all the opportunities available to you, and don't waste your time at university because it's a great time, I think. Yeah, Tyra, have you got any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, mashallah. The career progression that you have is very impressive, and you've got a very wide range and broad spectrum of skills that you would have developed on those different projects. I know you had mentioned that you did your degree, computer science at Aston University. Did you undertake any other qualifications throughout your career, that helped you get to where you are now?
So, I mean, I have done the Prince 2, the project management
Yes.
course. But apart from that, most of it has been, on the job learning training. I remember when I was writing a data policy for a large financial institution based in London when I was at PwC. It was like one of the first data policies that were being written because the regulation for data was coming up. So, it was through the, getting exposure with various, senior people within PwC and learning from them that I used to kind of build my skill set.
So when you did the Prince 2 qualification, was that to improve like your project management? Would you say that's a part of your role that you do at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the Prince 2 was more of, it wasn't a key driver for development. I was just curious to see what content was covered there. And just a
Mm.
bit of a health warning for everyone. You will never see a project at work that follows the Prince 2 to the T. Yeah.
Okay.
But what it does is just helps conceptualize how things should be structured.
Hmm.
And you can take that and try and refine approaches if you're managing a large project. And remember, Prince 2 is not just about project management in a technology or a corporate space. It can be, it's applied to a construction project, for example. So I wanted to just broaden um, my skill set and my expertise when it came to project management, and that was the reason for taking up that course.
My next question for you is if you could just give us a little walkthrough of a typical week or a typical day at your current role, just so we can get an idea of what the day-to-day workload is like, and just so we can perhaps understand how you balance both work and your family time and your personal time, and of course your time at mosque.
Sure. So many questions there, but let me
Sorry.
The first one is about a typical day or a week in my role. No day, week, or year for that matter is the same for me. You know, every year is different. Every week kind of changes. I've got a very different um, set of demands that come my way. And as I mentioned, because I lead the policy side and also reporting function, um, the the nature of it is that there's constant requests for either new regulations that come in, or for us to set up a new process for something. um, and whilst we do this, we've got to take a lot of people along the way, because it's a very large organization. And just to give you a very simple example, if we want to implement a particular process, it would impact so many different parts of the organization that we have to have many calls with each of those stakeholders. And at the end of the day, it's the requirement is for them to then change the way they're doing things, so we have to take them with us along the journey. Um, so some days are spent in meetings, brainstorming solutions with the representatives from the different parts of the bank. Others are spent in on the data analysis side, particularly if it's a month end or a quarter end. I mean, we have a team of people and developers who run the main set of reports, but we have to then ensure that we validate it, and we're able to then present that to various committees and forums. So, it does vary. And then obviously I also lead the data team in Birmingham, as a location. So I have some days or hours, that go into management activities as well. Conduct training, for example, around supervisory, you know, um, effective management. I'm part of the technology leadership group in Birmingham as well. So, we have various meetings to cover, various points there. And I also like spending a lot of time with my team and my people. So just to understand what drives them, what career where they would like to take their careers, to ensure that I'm also helping them in realizing their ambitions and their dreams. So I hope that gives you a bit of a flavor of a typical day. It's, yeah, as I said,
Definitely.
it's not the same, but that's what
Mhm.
I enjoy. I enjoy the diversity. I enjoy
Yeah.
um, the challenge that comes with it. It really keeps me going.
Really, really insightful to hear.
Yeah.
And then following up from that, so my next question was about how you manage your current workload with your responsibilities at home, your responsibilities towards the mosque. So we know that you're an active member of the community. So do you ever find it quite a challenge to manage all of these different areas of your life?
So yeah, it can get quite challenging at times, but I think it's more about how we plan things, how we organize things. So effectively, what I try and do is have some sort of discipline, particularly, for example, from a work perspective. Quick reflection at the start of the day, just to check what is um, on my radar for the day and what I'd like to complete. um, and I just have to have some discipline around when I finish, and what I ensure. Just I reflect on what I've actually achieved for that day. Now, obviously, it doesn't happen like that every single day, but as and when, with experience, you're able to then come up with some natural stop times and start times, um, and carry forward anything into the next day. And you just have to make that call. I try and ensure that I at least get home in time for having dinner with the family.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously, on the days that I'm working from home, I can work into my commute time, so that that gives me some extra time to finish off some of my work. Um, and then from a community perspective, from a Jamaat perspective, most of the time I ensure that my evenings on weekdays are spent completing the any tasks or any activities. Obviously, we've got a large project going on which I'm involved in. So generally on a Monday, we've got a meeting with the building committee, um, and then any other meetings that come up, I try and get those done during the week. So my weeks then end up becoming heavy, work, during the day work, in the evenings, Jamaat. And then I try and save the weekends as much as possible for time with the family. So, and obviously, there are times on Sunday mornings when the kids are in madrasa, for example, I can also spend that time on the Jamaat activities. But apart from that, then I have my set windows and set times. And that ensures that I keep that discipline and do justice um, to all the differences. It obviously doesn't work all the time like that, but it has definitely over the years been something that's worked out well for me.
That's perfect. Thank you. And you touched on how you are part of sort of the building committee and you're involved in the project that's happening at the moment. But one of the questions we also wanted to ask you was about your time when you were vice president for our centre. So do you feel as though your professional skill set supported your community work and vice versa?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've been involved in community. I was involved with the World Federation before, leading their marketing communications team. And this was between 2004 to 2009. And in between that, I was also the Assistant Secretary General there. And during that time, I had the pleasure to work with people from different backgrounds and different professions. Obviously, at that time, I was still very young, very new, still starting my career.
Mhm.
And I found it very insightful, working with people who were very successful in different professions. And I learned a lot from them. And that was extremely useful when I went for my interviews. Say, for example, during, when I'd gone for my interview to PwC, um, and I got that feedback that, some of the skills that I would have developed within these activities helped me progress my career as well. So, and now vice versa, where I can take some of my skills, my backgrounds, into the community, and that's what I, worked on also whilst I was the vice president, and before that as well, I was a member of the committee from 2010. And during that time we developed a roadmap plan for the community. We conducted a census, so I used a lot of my data analysis skills in the census. We've got a census that's currently live as well, and I'm part of the team. So yeah, so there's a mixture of skills. But I would say to anyone who is looking for jobs right now, get involved in community activities. You'll work with a very diverse set of people, where as long as you have that discipline and that commitment, and you stay true to that commitment, you'll be surprised with how much you will learn. I mean, one of the commitments I had to make when I was at World Federation was there used to be a newswire that would come out every Wednesdays. Every single Wednesday, a newswire would come out summarizing the community's global, activities. So I had to set up a process where I'd receive all the articles, the write-ups during the week, and then I'd have a cutoff on a Wednesday, for example, edit it. I created a team then at the back of it to help me with the edits. Then on Fridays, I'd send it to the office bearers for the reviews. And then on Sundays, I'd come up with the draft newswire for the following week before it was published. And all throughout that time, I had to develop all these skills. And I got to a point where I had people who were working for me in my team who were much more senior in organizations and were very successful in their careers. So I mean, all this was for free, right? But I felt that that time that I was giving at that point just helped me so much in my career as well. And I would really strongly recommend to all the youths out there. You may be going through frustrating phases. You may be trying to look for jobs and it's tough. Um, you know, help the community, just think about whatever small skill that you have, bring that on board, pick a particular project, just dedicate your time towards it, form a team, learn from people, and you'll be surprised the skills that you will gain. And if you take a step back and reflect on those skills, you can use it significantly towards your career success as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Again, that's such an insightful explanation about why we should all take part. And we really urge all the viewers at home who'll be watching this podcast to put yourself forward. There's so many committees, so many opportunities within our community to involve yourself. And just like Brother Riyaz Uncle said, it's an opportunity for us to also gain skills as well as giving back to the community. So it's a win for everyone. So definitely do get
Absolutely.
involved.
Yeah, honestly, I think everything that you said was exactly what I was thinking. I feel like I was predicting what the next thing that you were going to say. And I think that's the same thing I tell people when they want to join committees, especially like Bain. I say, look, even if the one thing that can motivate you and provide an incentive is not only can it go on your CV, but it's going to build skills that you can translate into your job. And I'm not just telling you this to encourage to tell you to basically sign up, but also because I've seen it happen for myself. I've been successful in job interviews because of the skills that I've used, that I've gained from mosque or different committees, and I've been able to apply that in my role as well, whether it's through public speaking or even communication, networking. So there's a lot that you can gain from your community center. So you are giving, but you're also getting something back in return.
Absolutely. And discipline is key. So, only take on something that you feel you will give justice to it. And when you take it up, give it your all and make a mark, put your mark on it. And you'll be surprised that, how much you will learn and how much satisfaction you will get from it.
Yeah, exactly. I always say I'm gonna give something a minimum of my 100%, and it always goes well, alhamdulillah. Yeah, thank you so much for all of those very, very insightful not feedback, suggestions, not suggestions, insightful
Advice,
information.
information.
Um, there you go. Cut that part out. But I think one thing I was thinking about as you were talking through all of this was, I guess, um, we've talked about what people should do when they're at university, but what about people who are, I guess, fresh out of university, looking for a job? Like you said, looking for a job right now is very difficult. It's getting quite competitive. Everybody coming out of university basically has the same thing. So, and you're in a position where, you might interview candidates, for somebody maybe applying for a fresh entry level job, like a graduate job or a data analyst job or something in BI, what's something that you're looking for in these candidates as maybe from a recruiting position that it kind of differentiates them from other candidates?
Yeah, so what I would look for, so obviously I'd look for academics, but that's not the full story that I would look for. I would look for how they present themselves, what they've done in their personal lives to demonstrate to me that that they have that that desire and that keenness and that discipline in them, um, and their ability to communicate. I also assess people based on the questions that they ask, um, based on the research that they've done about the role, about the organization that they're working for. Um, so there are a mixture of different things that I would look for. But when I interview people who are fresh from university, what I'm looking for from them is that spark, that energy. Um, because as people, grow in their career and develop in their career, it's natural that the energy and the passion can slowly fade. And what I like to have within my team is some young, fresh graduates, because what they do is they they give everyone in the team that energy, that passion. So, that's something that needs to stand out when a young person comes for an interview fresh from university. I want to see that energy, that passion, that drive, asking the right questions, demonstrating, even small activities that they've been involved in, but how they took ownership of those activities, how they were passionate about those activities, and how they drove those activities into completion. So yeah, that's pretty much the type of when I interview the young people from university, what I would look for.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I think for a lot of us, especially for me, I've just left one job and I'm still, looking for other jobs. I think for me, I'm always thinking, what would a recruiter, pick up on? Because a lot of the times we're so focused on, getting a first at university or, having the best A levels, which is all important, like you said. But what, I guess, technical skills, what personality-based skills, personal, interpersonal skills are they looking for? So I think that's quite nice to hear from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And sometimes, we may have some people who, say, for example, are not very successful academically at universities. But my message to you is don't give up, right? To those who, for example, feel like they haven't done their best, don't give up. Persevere. Join an organization, for example, even if it's a small organization. Be curious, learn how it operates, pick your skills from there, and move onwards into other organizations as well, and demonstrate that you will take full ownership, persevere, don't give up, and just keep at it, and you'll be surprised what you'll get back.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and just following up from that last point, I guess the next question would probably be, so when you're in, for example, going into an accounting job or an auditing job, you're kind of thinking, okay, I'm gonna first look at the big four companies and then the top 10 accounting companies, and then I'm gonna work from there. Um, for your sector, is it, something similar? Are there specific like organizations people should start exploring? How do they exactly, navigate that whole application process?
So yeah, I mean it's similar. I mean, the big four do provide lots of opportunities within the space. But you also have like the consulting firms, the technology firms, be it Accenture, IBM. So there are a few out there. There's lots of fintech firms that have come up as well. So there could be small firms that are involved in implementing or coming up with some technology ideas to sell to large banks and large insurance companies, or other sectors as well. So read up on such organizations, and use that time um, to understand what the organizations do. Sometimes it may be like you said, that you just get hit on constant rejections by, say, for example, the big four. Don't give up there. Look at other firms that are around that also provide similar services, and there are many. And try and get your way in. And once you're in and you build the experience, then you can always navigate through to other larger organizations as well.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that gives a good, I guess, guide on how to work through these companies because sometimes it can be quite overwhelming to, look at so many and then, think about which ones do I want to apply for? What am I looking for in these companies? And what are they looking for as well? So yeah, that's really helpful. Just to move slightly off this, just go on a bit of a tangent. I think one thing that when me and Tyra were kind of discussing this idea of the podcast, is one thing we wanted to discuss was faith in the workplace. Sometimes it can be difficult, especially in the country that we live in, to kind of be open about our faith. Recently, it's got better, but even still, like in the corporate world, it can be quite challenging to, be open about it or be comfortable with, being open about your religion. So how is that like for you in where you work? What's the company culture like? Just a little bit to give the our viewers a little bit of, I guess, peace of mind.
Yeah, so I think you're right that it can be a challenge. I have seen that over the years, there's more awareness about this and about the diversity programs. For example, this year during the holy month of Ramadan, we had an iftari program, and some of my colleagues also were fasting for the day. Um, so there are these activities that happen. I think the first thing I'd say is walk the talk, right? Be a person who is a principled person, an honest person. a person who is of good akhlaq, for example. I mean, if you think about the Holy Prophet, the first 40 years, he was, there was nothing about the religion itself. It was more about his conduct. So that's the first thing I say. You will build a lot of respect from your colleagues, from your peers. Like when I manage people or the people I report to, um, I need to stay true to my principles. Um, you know, um, you know, there'd be like instances where, say, for example, there's a delay to a particular project. Just be upfront, be honest about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is then around the fasting, right? So don't let don't try and use fasting as an excuse. Just use it as, you're fasting but you're also engaged and giving your 100%, and there's no impact to your overall delivery, but you make people aware of why we fast. We educate them around that. Particularly, I remember during the long days of the summer, I used to sit in the office and then I have to go home, and still have a couple of hours before the iftar. um, One of the things that I mean, we had the flexibility in Holy Month, but I never used to try and, take that was, sometimes, say, for example, a later start, or, finish the slightly earlier. I would keep my routine just because I felt it worked for me just to keep and maintain the same routine that I would have outside the Holy Month. And then the other thing is around, alcohol, right? Particularly the evening meals and so on. And I think there were times I'd make it absolutely clear that, look, I'm happy to come for a meal as long as there's no alcohol there. So there were some case instances where, we'd go out for a lunch, and obviously, during the day, no one's allowed to consume alcohol, because if you're going back to the office, there's restrictions around that. So over the years, I've had, like, because I've been around, we've organized breakfast for the team or lunches for the team, which is completely alcohol free. I also remember once when I was in New York, and the team there was planning an evening, for drinks, and I remember my boss at the time said, are you joining? I said, look, I'm sorry, but I'm not. I don't tend to go to places that have alcohol. And you know what he said to me? He said, you know what? I'm going to come one on one with you for a lunch instead. You choose where you're comfortable to go. And rather than being with a team and, a wider range of people, I had the benefit of going on a one-on-one with him for lunch. And I remember walking past different places, food places, in New York, in downtown. And he said to me, Riaz, just tell me, where do you want to stop? Whatever you're comfortable with, you choose where you want to go. So they do respect these things. We need to be upfront. We need to be honest. Sometimes it's natural for people to try and come up with excuses, but we'll never feel right. If we're open and upfront, people do respect. And it's better, and it makes you feel better. Sometimes it may be a bit difficult in the beginning, but just throw it out there, and you will gain a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I didn't expect there to be like practical examples, but it was really helpful just having even those like very specific examples. Because thinking back to my time at KPMG, there were a lot of instances where I wish I would have just been a lot more upfront. And it's okay to set those boundaries. Everybody has boundaries. Just because I was a different, that doesn't make it invalid, right? But yeah, thank you so much. I think this recording has been very helpful for me. Maybe I'm a bit biased the sector that this is in. But yeah, I'll hand over to Tyra if you have any final questions, but otherwise I'm okay. Thank you.
Oh, I think my only final question now is just to ask whether it's possible for the viewers at home to just get in touch with you, and how it's best for them to reach out to you, because you're a pool of knowledge in this field. So I'm sure it'll be of a lot of benefit for them to be able to approach you perhaps and ask you any questions. Have any?
Yeah, I mean, I can share my telephone number. I'm always available in the mosque, so people can come
Okay.
in and see me. And yeah, happy to help. Anyone, wherever they need any assistance. But what I will say is, it's not magic, right? Things, take time. You've got to be patient. You've got to persevere. Um, and you've got to set your mind to something and just keep at it. and you will watch wonders. Don't think that things just happen suddenly and automatically. It does require perseverance.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. I know it's difficult to give up an hour of your evening, especially on a weekday. So we really, really, really appreciate it. And we're sure that so many people will benefit from, this podcast and the others as well, inshallah.
Well, thank you very much for tuning into this episode. We're very grateful again to have Brother Riyaz Sachedina at this episode. Inshallah, we're hoping to release another one very soon.